So, hey everybody, welcome back right here on KPJZ 95.3 Jams. Hopefully you've been tuning in, locked into the show this far. Of course, you have to download the TuneIn app, the Waze app, or the Radio Online Box app, or the Zeno app to listen to the live broadcast over the radio airways. But of course, I've jumped onto my live so that we can close out the rest of this show talking about Texas politics. Guys, we have a lot of things going on across the nation. A lot of people running for office from the state level, congressional level, senators, state representatives. Then, of course, you go all the way down to all of your different counties. There's 254 counties in the state of Texas. And so there's going to be a lot going on, a lot of hot topics. But today is officially the last day of the legislative session that is taking place in Austin, where all of your U.S. congressmen, not congressmen, but your legislators are up there advocating to get their bills passed. That's going to go on to Governor Abbott. House bills will go on to the Senate, and Senate bills and so forth. Everything is going to go before Governor Abbott. And some of the hot topics, before I talk about my last subject, some of the hot topics are different bills that are passing when people didn't think they would. And then, of course, some of those controversial bills. And, of course, I want to hear from you guys. Tag into the comments, and we'll kind of chat online a little bit later on. So, let's see. But here's one that's been a huge topic across not just the state of Texas, but the nation, is the gender definition bill. There's so much controversy around gender identity, and boys and girls and pronouns and transgender and all of that. And so there is a bill, House Bill 229, did pass, and so it's headed now to Governor Abbott's office to either sign it into legislation or to kick it and veto it. But it's the gender definition bill, and a part of what talks about in that bill is whatever you were identified as birth, I guess what's on your birth certificate is what you're going to be identified as. And so this is going to go into law if passed and accepted by Governor Abbott, and that is the gender definition bill, House Bill 229. So be on the lookout for that one. And then another one that was discussed previously was Senate Bill 1188. That this is the same gender identity bill or gender definition bill that also kind of correlates with the one that they're recently doing, and it talks about how the medical providers and the doctors are the ones that identify or determine the biological sex of that particular individual. So look out for these two. These bills, Senate Bill 1188 is already a bill, but then House Bill 229 is the one that recently passed and is going on to Governor Abbott's office. Another particular one that I found to be very, very interesting was this citizenship bill talking about those that can vote in elections. And so this is one that Governor Abbott signed as a resolution where only United States citizens will be able to vote in, elections. And so I believe that one is going to be going to the voters to make a final determination across the state of Texas. So that is something that you can research if whatever side of the dynamics that you're on, because this is not really it's not really a Democrat or Republican issue. It's more so a people issue. And so this is one, like I said, Governor Abbott signed into a resolution in regards to United States citizens. If you are a United States citizen legally, you will be able to vote. So just be on the lookout for these different bills. And this one apparently is going to be going before the voters and across the state of Texas. And so this will be on your November election, or in the I don't know which election cycle, but it did say November. So just be on the lookout for that one. And the last one is dealing with public education. Right here in the state of Texas, we have the STAR test. Y'all, after all these years of having STAR, I can honestly tell you, as much as I've advocated in education, I have no idea what STAAR actually means. I know that's crazy because I used to teach English classes to non-English speakers. I used to do all of these parental involvement classes, and I volunteered in the schools for like 27 years. And of course my kids were in school until I took them out and homeschooled them. So it's interesting. I was sitting there thinking about, like, y'all, I really literally, I do not know what STAR stands for. Not that it's important, because it doesn't impact me and my kids, but it is kind of interesting that we have these different acronyms, and this test model. That, does anybody know what STAR actually stands for? STAAR. And I'll be honest with you, it's the worst acronym ever, because this was a test. This is a state test. Ah, my microphone fell. This is a state test that children from grade 3, third grade, on to 12th grade graduation, they must pass certain components of this accelerated testing model to see if they have mastered certain areas of math, writing, reading, and science. And so I just found it very interesting that it's called STAR, but it actually brings out the deficiencies of students. Sometimes it brings out their lack of understanding of what the actual questions are, and the language that it's tailored in, as well as does it really evaluate their performance level. Some kids don't do well with tests. I was one of those people. I don't take tests well. Even now in my position, in different areas, we have to do these different trainings, and I have to listen to these modules and take a 3-question quiz at the end of 20 minutes of listening to something. I'm like, oh my gosh, I am struggling after just 20 minutes of learning something. I can't remember nothing of what the answer is supposed to be for those questions. So I can only imagine what the young, youthful minds go through. Some people just don't test well. I was never a good tester from grade school up to graduation. I just didn't test well. And unfortunately, I think my kids inherited a little bit of that, but they're much better than I am. But here's the thing. Stop shaking your head now. But here's the thing. The STAR test was designed to examine the level of knowledge and excellence in your mastery skills of what you've learned in that school year once you hit grade 3 in those different areas. It's a proficiency test, and a lot of kids don't do well, and then kids who come in 2 years behind their grading level, or that are struggling, guess what, they don't perform well at all. And then they have levels to this test, commended and recognized, or just plain old fail, which to me does not really determine if a child or a student has actually mastered. I've heard of, and even seen when I was volunteering in schools, where some kids who literally were A students, honor roll students, they performed horrible on the STAR test. And so for me, I am looking forward. I hope they do scrap the STAR test, so that, one, educators can get back to actually educating students and teaching them the actual mathematics, arithmetic, reading, writing skills, science and social studies and history. Get back to what they actually got their degrees in, and that is to teach and educate young minds. And so, okay, it's a great comment. In my day, it was the TOS test. Oh my gosh, you're dating yourself, because that was what I took too. And I remember correctly, but after that, as a parent, seeing these different names for it now, I'm like, huh? Girl, I'm with you, because to me, all these different, I don't even remember what the TAAS, TAAS even stood for, to be honest with you. And I think before that, it was TEAK, or tech, something like that. It's all these names, these people, no offense, but these people make up these different tests because it's all based around money. So if y'all didn't know that, these tests are geared towards curriculum. It's geared towards lobbying and money and different things like that. So don't believe the hype. You got to be careful who you vote for in office, your different legislators, because sometimes they're not working in the best interest of your tax dollars, but they work in the best interest of their dollars. So be aware of that. But getting back to that particular one is House Bill 4. House Bill 4 is a bill about, either removing the STAR testing in the state of Texas or exchanging it for a more efficient test, or it could be a worse test. We don't ever even know. So just depends on what's going on. So just kind of be on the lookout for that one, House Bill 4, dealing with the STAR test. But there's a whole lot of other bills. I know State Representative Ron Reynolds, he passed quite a few bills and some legislation. And then you have a host of other, and I mentioned State Representative Ron Reynolds because he's my state rep. And so I follow, what he's doing as well. But these were some of the statewide bills overall that have been really hot topics in different counties from different aspects of leaders that I've been talking to on both sides of the party affiliated aisles, which is Democrat and Republican. And so there has been a lot of controversy and concerns about these particular bills overall. And of course, everybody has their perspective. Everybody has their viewpoint on things, based on, your particular values as an individual or groups and organizations or lobbyists that you're associated with or whatever side of the aisle you stand on. And so that's everybody's prerogative and perspective on which bills that they think are good and which ones they think are not so good. So just be on the lookout for that. Again, that's the Gender Definition Bill, House Bill 229. That is also House Bill 4, dealing with the STAR, and then the resolution that Governor Abbott signed in regards to United States citizens being the only ones that can vote in elections. And so, speaking of elections, we have a host of people that are going to be running for big offices, you guys. I'm really excited to see that so many different, people from different backgrounds and ethnicities, and even people who are just kind of throwing their hat out there just to see what happens. All the way from people running for Congress, Senate, state representatives, county judge, judges, judicial judges as well, commissioners and constables and justice of the peace, people running for local municipal races like your mayors and city council, and school board elections. And so I'm really excited to see all the different dynamics of people running. And I want to tell you guys, you've got to really get charged up. The 2026 primaries, which is the midterms, they're coming up. Early voting is going to start in February, late February. And then, of course, the election is going to be the first Tuesday in March of 2026. And so you've got some really big decisions that you've got to make, Texas, because the primaries are when you select your Democrat nominee, and Republicans vote in their Republican nominee, so that those two individuals in those different seats will challenge one another in the November elections that are going to be coming up in November 2026, first Tuesday in November. And so what I want you guys to be aware of is pay attention to when the forums are coming up. Sometimes they're going to be online. Sometimes they're going to be in person. Sometimes they're video recorded. But you need to be aware of the different, variations of people that are running for these different offices. Incumbents and elected officials currently in their positions, they're going to be challenged. And so what I want to hear from you in our conversations, whether it's now or later. Hey, what's up? Trustee Joyce Wilkins, thank you so much. Stafford, trustee out there. Her comment is the state of Texas assessment of academic readiness. Hey, girls, y'all knew somebody had my back. So thank you so much, Joyce, all the way out there in Stafford, Texas, for letting me know that the STAR test, so we're going backwards, the STAR test, STAAR, stands for State of Texas Assessments of Academic Readiness. Oh my gosh, that's a mouthful. Thank you, sis, for dropping that in so that not only I can know, but all the other STAR illiterate people of acronyms know as well. Thank you so much, James Eaglin. Yes, I am the mountain mover, but you guys can move mountains too, and of course, y'all help me move them. Thank you so much for locking in today. And then, of course, hey, Miss Donna. Everybody's got to get involved. We appreciate you so very, very much. Thank you guys for all y'all jumped on our Instagram and, of course, my Facebook page. Make sure you are following 953 Jams on our social media platforms as well. So going back to the primaries, you guys have got to be a part of the decision-making process, which means you got to vote. One of the coolest things about voting is it builds momentum and energy. It gets people excited about, getting behind a candidate. And yeah, I know that's a long name for the STAR. God bless them. Hopefully they come up with something else that's like test. Pass it or fail it or move on. But guys, you've got to get involved. And so one of the things that I want to really encourage y'all to do, one of the things I want to really encourage you guys to do is to get connected with your political leaders, your elected officials locally and statewide. And learn who they are. Learn who your congressperson is, who your state rep is, who your senator is, and make contact with them. Go look up and see what they've done. Before I vote for my elected officials, I go look up and see what bills did they pass as far as the state legislation. What bills did they pass? What bills did they, co-sponsor? What bills did they author? And then which ones failed, which ones passed. I look at to see, and I don't go digging all deep into the bills. I have friends and people who do that for me that kind of give me a snippet of what it's about. If there's some controversy to it, they'll let me know. But at the end of the day, guys, the very thing that I teach to y'all and preach, I do the same thing. I get involved. I stay actively. Yes, I'm busy. No, I don't want to go to a bunch of boring forums, but do I need to? Yes. Because we need to be aware of who's representing us. I'm going to tell y'all one of the biggest reasons y'all going to laugh at me. But you know why I really like to go to forums? I ain't going to lie. This is what I really like to go to forums. I like to see who's lying. I like to see those elected officials up there or the candidates that are running or who's being I like to see them squirm and lie. And if you have ever been to a forum that I'm at, you'll hear me say, man, you lying. You ain't even answer the question. And I will say that, and I mean it. Because my second biggest thing is when you don't answer the questions. I love to see when a question is answered and the candidate, elected official, opponent, whoever, they don't answer the question. And y'all pay attention to that because that means they're trying to either avoid the truth or they're trying to give you so much rambling on information that you actually forget about what the question was. And then you think they've just said just all these magical words and they sound intelligent when in actuality they didn't answer the question, okay? And they sound like an idiot. And if you are ever in the audience and I'm there and you don't answer a question, you'll hear that person in the audience say, you ain't answered the question. And you'll see me whispering to people, they ain't answered the question. You see, this is what I'm talking about. This is some foolishness. And generally, I sit on the front row or like the first two rows, just that way they can hear me when I say that. So I feel bad for them if I have to be there and stuff because I will be a little facetious. I know, Joyce. Joyce, you've been there when I was at a forum with you and stuff like that, but you was, baby, mama had to just smile. We're like, good job, baby. And so, but yes, y'all need to go to these forums because I'm telling you, you are going to hear some really interesting information, and it's going to tell you, you know, the difference between the people that you need to elect and the people you don't need to elect. And so, and I would tell you, be courageous this upcoming election cycle. Be courageous. Be okay with voting for someone that's not in office, or vote for someone different that is, you know, other than the incumbent. Y'all, let me tell y'all something. And everybody know I be posting a bunch of pictures of different things that I do and go to, because, hey, I'm busy, you know, and I love it because I like to look at memories and things like that. But people, you need to also go back and do your research and stuff like that, because what I have found is some of your elected officials, they like to take credit for stuff they ain't really done. And that's basically called stealing your shine. And so be aware of that as well. People post pictures and they ain't really done dilly squat because they start posting when it's election season. You start seeing elected officials coming out, doing events and sponsoring programs and hosting town halls and going to so many events. They start getting their social media all active and stuff, like they've been busy the whole time. Y'all, all of that is a distraction. Pay attention, okay? Go look at the history of why they've been in office and if their social media is active and what have they been doing. Go look and see how they voted on certain things, or I'll tell you one thing is so hilarious to me is when I go to meetings and elected officials are there and they ask some of the dumbest questions. And I'm thinking, did you not read your packet? You know, and of course, y'all know as an elected official, I know you get a packet, whether you're commissioner's court, you're on a council group, or you're on a municipal school board, whatever it is, whether it's mud, lid, school board, council, commissioner's court, you get a packet. You get a packet. Anytime you have to vote on something, you get a packet of information. And this stuff is public. It's all public, okay? So it's not like they have something that you don't. Everything is public, except for what's on executive session. And it's always hilarious to me when I go to these different meetings, and I'm sitting here looking at these people, and they ask some of the dumbest questions. Or a question was asked, and the question was answered by a staff member, whatever, and then the next person, another elected official in the same meeting, asked the same dumb question. I'm like, oh my gosh, they just answered that question. Were you not paying attention? So my point to that is, you as voters, y'all need to pay attention, because some of your elected officials are not working to your best interest. They are not actively engaged. They don't care. And they're just holding up a seat with no progress. And for that, don't get caught up with, you know, oh, that's my friend, or that's my, what y'all call them, my fraternity brother, my sorority sister. Be okay, or that's my friend, they invite me here and there and stuff like that. I tell people all the time, hey, if I'm not doing my job, or if I look like I'm pretending to do my job, and I'm not, get rid of me. Be okay with getting rid of people, because sometimes you need to move the old out because they've been sitting there too long, or they've been there too long, or people are scared to run because of who they are. They have name recognition. Y'all, I have seen people who nobody knows come in and wipe the flow with an incumbent. So it can be done. And be okay with changing up the narrative. Be okay with changing up. Sometimes you just need to move people out the way and send a message that, hey, if you're not going to do your job, we're going to put somebody in there to do the job for you. So thank you so much, Shell, for hopping on. Yes, indeed. Now I'm talking. Hey, I got me somebody, my amen corner, you know. But be okay with changing up the narrative. You as voters, you control the narrative. Y'all just don't know your power because you haven't tapped into it, because you think voting doesn't matter. You think voting, my vote doesn't count. But let me tell you something. It does count. Had 3 people at 6:50 p.m. on December 11th, 2021, in a runoff election, had not come to the polls to vote for your girl, Mountain Moving Monica Riley, I would not be able to have gotten all the stuff that I told you that I promised you I would do, get those things done. Every vote counts. Every vote counts. And it's important for you guys to realize every vote really does make a difference. And you need to be a part of the solution. You know, stop bitching and complaining and staying at home and posting bull crap on social media, you know, talking about people if you ain't even voting. And just so y'all know, voting, your voting record is public, okay? So I challenge y'all on a whole nother aspect. Voters, hold voters accountable, okay? Go look at their voting record. See if they even voted in these elections that they on social media bitching and complaining and starting boo with, you know, mess and stuff. Go look and see if they even are voters, registered voters in the area, much less if they're even voting. Because I tell you, I go look at people's voting record, I'd be like, you don't even vote. So why'd I even respond to you? You don't even vote. You're not even a part of the solution. You just up creating problems and mess and strife. So just be aware of that, guys. We as voters, we have the power. And the only way to send the true powerful message to our elected officials and to candidates running or challenging the status quo is your message has to be voting at the end of the day, and voting in every election cycle, whether you got time or you don't have time. Ain't nobody busier than me at some times, and there's busier people. But if celebrities can get out there and vote in election cycles, if people like me can go vote, I have worked the polls and almost forgot to vote for myself and vote for other people because I'm helping them volunteering, but I have to stop and say, wait, you know, you can't ever get too busy where you can't vote. So if you are busy like I'm busy, or less busy or busier, you can find time to go exercise your right and cast your ballot, because somebody needs that vote. A lot of the people that won in this May election in Fort Bend County 2025, they wouldn't have made it had you not voted. You know, they challenged the status quo. One person unseated incumbent, another person won an open seat that they didn't think could. There was all these different dynamics. So when I tell you guys voting does make a difference, it really does. And you have the power. And you have to also explain that to your children. My kids are avid voters. It's a part of their DNA. It's part of their lifestyle. You know, if there's an election in May, if there's one in June, if there's one in November, if there's one in December, they are voting. And so you also have to hold your students, your kids, your adult, you know, people, your neighbors. You have to also hold them accountable as well by telling them, you need to go vote. It's important, because if not, we're going to lose our history of what Dr. Martin Luther King did, President Kennedy, all those people that fought for civil rights, the right to vote, women in 2020, which was kind of interesting. Women in 2020, was it 2020? No, 2024. In 2024 marked 100 years when women were able to vote. Was it 100 years or was it 2020? Whatever, y'all gonna do Google. Either 2020 or 2024 marked 100 years when women were eligible to be able to go actually vote. So if nobody else is voting, black people should be voting, avidly should be voting. Hispanic people should be voting. Women should be voting. The people who didn't have that right, if you are now a United States citizen, you should be voting. These are the people who didn't have those same privileges and extended, bless you, stop it. She's over here sneezing on my show. Now, the people who did not have that same privilege and entitlement to go vote, you should be racing to the polls to go vote because of what happened in history that didn't allow you to, and then you also wind up having the opportunity to. So you should be the first ones at the poll to go exercise your right, your privilege, and what you can do to make a difference. So I want you guys to ask yourselves a question, and then of course I want you guys to, share with me either on this, on comments or whatever, or later on. Do you see a trend happening of a particular type of ethnicity running for more elections now than in the past? And if so, what is that ethnicity and why do you think it is? My other question to you is, do you see where the dynamics of people becoming more nonpartisan in races or more partisan in races? Did I say more or less partisan in races? Do you think that partisanship really is important in local races? And so those are some of the questions that I'm asking the public, because I think from my perspective, and I've just done my own little research, is party affiliation creates division. From my lens, I look at the both party alignments, and I've read, of course, some of the other ones because, I teach about this. Party affiliation of the two major parties, which is Democrat and Republican, I have found that over the last, 20 years, it's gotten more divisive. There's been more animosities, and then there's less productivity that has taken place because people have chosen their partisanship over the pathway to help people. And so look at that dynamic and ask yourself, do you feel like that party affiliation is more important or less important, especially in your local races? Now, I do see the importance of party identification in your state level positions, like your state representatives, your senators and your Congress and your president, your state and your federal level. But county, I'm not sure if that is appropriate to have party affiliation in your local and county elections, because nothing is decided on that relates to the party affiliation. And so we have a comment. Mr. Raymond Richardson, all the way from Missouri City, Texas. He says, people these days don't show their history and were doomed to, people that don't show their history and don't know their history are doomed to repeat it. Amen. Exactly that. You're exactly right. Because if you don't know your history, whether it's good or bad, if it's good history, then you know how to do things going forward in a same manner or better. But if you don't know the negative history and how it impacted you and your community, then you're doomed to repeat it. Or people will take it for granted that since you don't know, you're not paying attention, and then they can do what they want to do. So Texas politics, you guys, the importance of understanding where you stand on certain issues, who you're going to be voting for. Amen. Miss Shell said, I'm an independent. Independent. Do you know what that means? I love it. And I think it is so important that people start looking at where do they stand on certain issues. A lot of people are Democrats. And I will just be honest with you, because I heard this in my house. A lot of people are Democrats because they say, black people are Democrats because black people deal with the issues, of poor people, and we don't have as much money, which I thought that was a little kookadooks. Growing up, I didn't hear just from my family, but I heard in a lot of, in school and community leaders and things like that, which I don't believe is accurate. me myself, but you need to go look at the party identification as it relates to the state of Texas, what the Democrat Party stands for, and then you need to do the same thing. I've always heard, growing up, Republicans are for the rich white people, which is, I'll be honest with you, the fact that I was informed growing up, and I even heard this in the community for many years, that the Republicans are for the rich white people, and rich and or white people, and the Democrat is for the black and or poor people, which I think is an atrocity on both sides to identify people as such. Because when I go and look at the actual party, when I, of course, became an adult and knowledgeable about politics, I actually read what the platforms actually mean. And it doesn't actually say that. I think it's just more sort of perception and how you interpret it. I mean, if you interpret it that way, shame on you. So here's my thing. Hey, cuz. So here's my thing. Do party identification matter to you? And is it important in your local elections, like your school board, your mayor and council, your MUDs, your LIDs, and is it important in your county elected officials, your judges, your judicial judges, your county judge, your commissioner, your constable, your sheriff, your city controller, your treasurer, your clerks? Is that really important? Because I'll be honest with you, something I was discussing, I talk politics with, some high-level strategists, people who deal with stuff on the state and federal level, and I learned so much from them. And one of the things that we talked about, I told them, I said, I don't believe judges. I said, one, I don't believe that local elections and county elections should even have party identification because those positions have nothing to do with what the parties say. I said, but most of all, if nothing else, at the very least, it is important to remove party identification from judges, judicial judges, because they take an oath to uphold the Constitution, all that stuff like that, but also have no biases as it relates to religion and all that stuff like that. But here's the thing. Once you say, hey, I'm a Democrat judge, that's the party identification I filed on. Hey, I'm a Republican judge, that's the party identification I filed on. You're already making pre-assumptions. And, I'm not talking about the person, but in that position, because you're already identifying with one party over another. And so your ideology may associate your party affiliation with the type of decisions that you make. And so I'm asking you guys, where do y'all stand and how do y'all feel about party affiliations in local and county elections and elected officials? I say no, they need to go, because when you are a council member, a mayor, a school board trustee, you a constable, a sheriff, a commissioner, a judge, a county treasurer, a district clerk, a county clerk, a city controller, a county judge, that stuff has nothing to do with, do you believe in abortions and do you kill babies? That has nothing to do with it. Those decisions are not even made by any of those entities. Or when you call 911, somebody's breaking into my house, can you please send a Republican deputy or a Democrat police officer to my house because I'm a X, Y, and Z and I need one? You don't do that. Those party affiliations have absolutely nothing to do with those positions. It's just idiotic. But here's a comment. Shell McClue out of all the way out there in Fort Bend County. Thank you so much, Shell. And she's also, if you didn't know, if you have a Missouri City business, Shell McClue, You can follow her on her page. She has the Missouri City Chambers of Commerce out there. First ever. She's CEO and founder. Great organization. They had their grand opening this past week. It was fabulous. All white party. You know, your girl Monica was up in the place. So if you have a Missouri City business, go check out. You can Google. You can go on Facebook, Instagram, and look up the Missouri City Chamber of Commerce and look into joining that being a part of the organization. Join as a member. It just gives you a host and access to lots and lots of great resources and support. But Shell says, it's a perception because most of these people haven't left outside of their local areas to see otherwise. Very good point. Most people kind of associate themselves with what they see and what they kind of grow up in. And so I agree with you, Shell, on that one. Raymond Richardson out of Missouri City, Texas, he says, here's the issue, Miss Riley. It doesn't matter what party affiliation. If government doesn't line up with God's kingdom. Ooh, boy, he brought some Jesus up into this. Good point. I love both of those perspectives, both of those comments. Those are really good. And I think it's important for people to understand that when you're dealing with party identification, you do have a sense of having a certain ideology and a certain perception and belief. And so what my encouragement to you and to your fellow neighbors is to think outside the box. Understand that there are great options on both sides of the aisle, primarily because they're people. You're not really voting for a party ID. You're really voting for a person and what their beliefs and what their value system are. And I'll be honest with you guys, I have seen, and this is just me, I've seen on both sides. Because, you know, I have friends on both sides, and I always find it very interesting. Democrats get mad when I take pictures with Republicans, or I have Republican friends. Republicans get mad when they see me with Democrats and take pictures with Democrat people and stuff like that, you know. And here's the thing. I keep doing it. I've been told to stop, and I tell people y'all can go to hell. As far as I'm concerned, I'm with my friends. I don't have Republican and Democrat friends. I have friends. I have people. And I love people, and I'm not going to stop because, you know, if you don't want to like me, if you don't want to take a picture with me, good. I don't want you in my picture. You probably smell like boogers anyway. Who knows? But anyway, I believe that when you have that mentality and that ideology, and if you say that you have certain values, you are already not living up to your mankind humanity, because you're already segregating in your mind, you're segregating in your community, and you're already pushing your own ideology message to people. So you're no better than the next person that says, that same concept that somebody told me, Democrats are all black people and or poor people. That's ignorant. The same, you know, somebody has said all Republicans are rich and or for white people. Ignorant. So when you say things like that, or you have an issue with a person that chooses to vote for people, or you don't like this person because they're a Democrat, or you don't like that person because they're a Republican, or whatever the case may be, you technically are the ignorant one, because you have not opened your mind up to be open to God's creation and to be open to hearing different views. Because what I have found in my history of working in the public for going on 28 years now, and I serve as an elected official for 3.5 years now, and I work in politics. That's my company, my business model. For 16 years, what I have found is, and y'all can agree or disagree, you know, y'all know me, my 3 words of, I don't care, but is, I have seen people who are avid, like, I'm voting for nothing but Democrats, and they have voted for a particular Democrat that they really believed in and staunch, you know, support just because they're a Democrat, and that Democrat let them down, literally didn't do nothing for them or their party, and they were a black person and they did nothing for the black community at all. And so when I see stuff like that, it makes me wonder about your mindset and how you view things. And I say all people that look like you, all people that are the same party affiliation as you, all people that think like you are not necessarily for you, okay? And the same applies to people on the Republican Party. You know, I have seen people on the Republican Party do absolutely nothing of what they said they were going to do, and the party got behind them and so forth, and they did absolutely nothing, embarrassed the party, and eventually they lost that seat to someone else, but because they stood by that person, because they were a Republican. I think it's important, from my lens, this is my opinion. My opinion is just like your opinion. You got one, we got one, we all got one. Don't make them right. But from my lens, as a human being, I look at it from a personal standpoint. If Democrats and Republicans had not voted for me back in November 2021 and December 2021, because both of them did, if they had not voted for me as a person based on my merit, based on my history, based on my values, based on my word, my commitment, I wouldn't have been able to be in a position to do the good of the people. And that's my message to you guys. Look at the person, look at the people, and start evaluating them from that lens and make a decision, an educated decision, and be done with it. Stand on your ground. You know, if you like, because I vote for Republicans and I vote for Democrats, you know, in those party affiliated type of situation. But to be honest with you, I don't really care what they are. I may know what they are because I'm in that political arena, but I support and vote for people based on them being a person, based on their history. And I think it's important that you as people start evaluating your expectations for people, regardless of what party platform they're on. Because some things need to change, you know. And I'm going to say this, because Republicans and Democrats can't get along in the state, we can't get public education for kids down here in Fort Bend County or across this whole entire state, because they are so caught up in their party affiliated positions. They won't budge and they won't do the right thing. And so kids don't have party affiliations. Kids, they're not Democrats and Republicans. They're children. They are kids. And they can't get the best teachers, you know, because teachers are leaving the industry, and the teachers that are staying are dedicated, and they can't even get the pay that they deserve to pay, to receive. They can't get the kids can't get the education, they can't get the resources. You can't get what you need as children, as regular everyday working Americans and people. You can't even get what you need in public education because people are so caught up in a party affiliation at the top that you can't get nothing done at the bottom. And I'm going to leave y'all with that note. So at some point, we as the voters are going to have to push the narrative that we need to remove party identification from our local industry, from our local elections and our county elections, and let people just run as people, and may the best man or woman win at the end of the day. I think you need to start holding people accountable for how they're being actively engaged and charged up in the community, and stop voting for people based on their party ID in the state of Texas, because as you can see, we're not getting as much productivity done as we could if we just all work together. So that's my message on Movn Monday. It's been a great show. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Hey, go back and listen and tune in, and make sure that you follow the page and drop your comments in. Obviously, on Facebook, this will be up for 30 days, and then it's going to come down. But I will have all of my videos are going to be on my YouTube channel. For so people to go back and review those and listen and things like that. But share it, listen to it, add your comments. I'm going to be logging all those comments in and taking all your information. Guys, I will tell you this summer, I haven't picked the date, but this summer I want to have some local community leaders and political voices here in the station. We're going to have a group conversation in regards to local politics, advocacy, and what would we like to see with our upcoming leaders. So stay tuned for that. And if you want to be a part of that, I'll have a sign-up sheet. You know, my studio is not humongous, so I can probably fit about 10 people comfortably in here. But that is something that I have coming up this summer that I want to do for the public. Because I want to hear your perspective, and I want the people to hear your perspective and add your comments on live footage. And so hopefully you'll accept my invitation. I'll be reaching out to you soon. But otherwise, you guys, I am Movn Monica right here on KPJZ 95.3 Jams, Movn Monica Radio Talk Show, where we talk about people, politics, and purpose every single Monday Central Standard Time, right here on a Mountain Moving Monday. You guys make it a great week. Shout out to Sugarland. You guys in that runoff over there with the mayor and at-large 1 and District 2. I'm pulling for my friend William Ferguson. So if you know anybody in Sugarland that hasn't voted, please get out there and tell them to vote. And activate the message of voting for people over politics, and let's get this thing done. I'm looking forward to working with the next mayor of Sugarland, and I'm believing and trusting and working that it's going to be William Ferguson for Sugarland mayor. But you guys, y'all make it a great week. Thank you so much for helping Movn Monica Radio Talk Show be the #1 political radio show right here in the Houston metropolitan area. I'm so honored to serve as your on-air personality and as your friend and voice of the people. You guys make it a great week. God bless you, and I will see you next Monday. Thank y'all so much for your comments.